welcome everybody to the Iceberg, our very first off-season show. Here it is Sunday, June 26th, day after draft day, rounds 2 through 7. Of course, 2 days ago we had the first picks. One of the biggest events at the draft was, of course, Atlanta Thrashers moved to Winnipeg, and they announced the new name of the Winnipeg team will be, of course, the Jets, following tradition. Penguins had some interesting picks, a couple defensemen and some forwards. We'll talk about those. We're going to talk about the off-season moves that General Manager Ray Shero might make. We're going to talk about possibly dipping into the past to look towards the future and try to build a championship team in the 2011-2012 season. All this coming your way when we come back on the Iceberg. Welcome back. 2011 NHL entry draft, Pittsburgh Penguins, 23rd overall, select Joseph Morrow, defenseman from the Portland Winterhawks. Height 6 foot tall, 197 pounds, a left-handed shooter. 9 goals, 40 assists in total. Played games with 60 last season. Blend of a high-end puck-moving defenseman and a shutdown defenseman. What does a guy like this bring to a defense core that's already pretty deep for the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Well, he's been already compared to Dennis Potvin, and he's an Alex Goligoski type in terms of moving the puck, passing, shooting from the line. It's that kind of puck-moving defenseman, sort of like a Chris Letang or a Goligoski, that will fit in the future and generally fits into the Pittsburgh defensive point man role as far as a defenseman.
Absolutely. How NHL ready is a guy like Joseph Morrow in your opinion?
He's pretty tough. He skates pretty fast. He's taken a bunch of bumps during his early junior league career, so I think he's probably one of the most NHL ready out of the draft, and possibly even more NHL ready than some of the big superstars just because of the position he plays.
Absolutely. Second round, 54th overall, Scott Harrington, London OHL. He's another defenseman, a left-handed shooter, 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, born in Kingston, Ontario. So another defenseman in the second round. Defense core is pretty deep with Pittsburgh, running back to Chris Letang, Brooks Orpik, Paul Martin, Zbigniew McCulloch. We've always had kind of tandems on that third line of defense, Niskanen in for a while, Englund in for other times. Do you think that Ray Shero may be taking too many defensemen, trying to buff up that defense core too much, or do you think he's more or less planning for the future in case we were to trade or a defenseman were to retire? What do you think he's doing taking 2 defensemen in the first 2 rounds?
Part of it is Harrington plays a game. If Morrow was more like a Letang or a Goligoski, Harrington's game is more like a Brooks Orpik, where it's physical, a lot of hits. So I think Orpik, his number of years are actually starting to get limited. He's starting to get up there in the years. So I think Shero is looking to the future in that aspect.
Absolutely. 144th overall pick, Dominic Ewer. From Spokane of the WHL. He's a center, left-handed shooter, 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. What do you think a guy like this brings to the team, and do you see him being a fifth rounder? The statistics are 90% of NHL players are either first or second round picks. From a standpoint of a guy like a fifth round pick, what does he need to do? Does he need to overachieve in the minors to get up to the Pens roster?
Well, if you look at his numbers are already great. I think the big thing for him is going to be playing that full 81-game season in the NHL. It'll be his ability to stay strong because the game is a lot more physical at the NHL level, and it's more dangerous, and there's more games. So I think it'll be his staying power in terms of that aspect.
Absolutely. Josh Archibald, selected in the 6th round, 174th overall. He's a forward, 5'10", 161 pounds. From Brainerd, Minnesota High School. For those who don't understand the position, he doesn't have a defined position, a left wing, a right wing, or a center, more or less just forward. What does a forward mean? Can you convert him into any kind of position?
In his case, particularly for Archibald, he has more assists than goals, and normally the position for that would be a winger.
Absolutely. And, some great prospects have come out of Minnesota, especially, since the North Stars and the Wild were there. Great fans up there, and it's a great hockey atmosphere coming out of Brainerd. Final pick for the Penguins, 209th overall, Scott Wilson, another forward, 5'11", 166 pounds, from Georgetown of the OJHL. So that's the draft. A couple trades went down over the draft. Obviously, you saw Setaguchi go to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for Brent Burns and I believe a prospect from Boston University. So a couple blockbuster trades going down. Regier moves to Buffalo. So we'll certainly talk about those later and talk about some off-season moves for the Penguins as well as assess the Flyers situation after they have almost a complete, leadership and kind of roster overhaul. We'll talk about that when we come back on the Iceberg. Welcome back. Off-season move for the Penguins. Regier hasn't done too much in terms of re-signing anybody as of yet. He's re-signed Craig Adams. Still a lot to be done, though. He's already announced that he won't be re-signing Mike Comrie, Alex Kovalev, or Eric Goddard. Of course, Eric Goddard, I think, is replaceable by someone like Derek England. But still a lot of free agents, coming the Penguins' way. Aaron Asham, Tyler Kennedy, Maxim Talbot, Pascal Dupuis, Mike Rupp. He hasn't re-signed any of these guys yet. Who do you think should be re-signed? Who do you think has a chance of being let go in the next couple days here leading up to free agency?
Well, if you're asking me, I think that Talbot and Dupuis will probably be on the way out. Talbot has already been told that, it's basically not going to happen. Goddard hasn't been offered a new contract. Rupp and Asham are up in the air, so we don't know yet about them. There's a lot of unrestricted free agents for the Pens this year, so it's a lot of question marks.
And do you think by the fact that he's not re-signing these guys in a quick manner, he might be looking to free agency to kind of fill a lot of positions? Or do you think this is going to kind of be one of those things where at the end it's a blockbuster, he re-signs, a lot of people that, we're looking to be headed to free agency? Or do you think he's really looking to make moves in free agency this year and really be an active participant in free agency to fill a lot of the moves, especially the right wing spot that we've had difficulty with in the past year or so?